Well, hello there, watching the press preview. A first look at what is on the front pages. Time then to see what's making the headlines with the political editors of The Sun and The Guardian, Harry Cole and Pippa Crerar. Welcome and lovely to see both of you. So as ever, let's check out those front pages. We're starting with the international edition of the Financial Times, which reports that American traders are rushing to buy copper, aluminium and steel in an attempt to stop their European counterparts from doing so before the Trump administration's planned tariffs kick in. The Eye focusing on what those tariffs might mean for an increasingly worried British steel industry. The Times, meanwhile, says Keir Starmer will avoid a war with the US by not joining in the EU retaliation against Donald Trump's steel tariffs. On her 100th day as Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch speaks to The Telegraph, insisting an electoral pact between the Tories and Reform would be off-putting for voters. The Express pictures 5-year-old Bert Church, who attended the farmers' protest against inheritance tax changes with his parents today in Westminster. The Metro leads with the anger of a woman who says she was spied on by a man in a sauna changing room after he was arrested but escaped with a caution. The Guardian claims an exclusive with a report that the assisted dying bill is to be changed to scrap the provision for a High Court judge to have the final say in each case. An expert panel will decide instead. The Daily Mail leads with new allegations about Prince Andrew's business dealings. The Sun lambasts historical remarks by the Health Minister Ashley Dalton, in which she apparently said it's possible for people to identify as llamas. And The Star believes we're all about to be wiped out by AI chatbots. Well, let's go home. Anyway, moving on. So Harry and Pippa are here with us. Steel tariffs. It is our anticipation that Donald Trump is signing those orders around now, just looking loads of drops. There's all different ones coming in right now. But in the meantime, the Eye relates it to the UK steel industry, Harry, and what concerns there might be and why.
Yeah, so there's, I wouldn't say hubris last week, but certainly some chuckling in sort of Whitehall and Westminster that it looked like that UK would be spared the sort of punishing tariffs that Donald Trump threatened on first Canada and then Mexico, and then stood down at the last moment to cut a deal, delay it for a month, but has whacked on China. And the sort of idea that the special relationship post-Brexit means that we will be able to escape blanket tariffs on all imports into the United States, which I think so far we probably will. But these are very specific ones, which I think he's about to sign now.
Well, just the orders are coming in, just on one of them that he's done. Trump signs an order aimed at going back to plastic straws.
Okay,
just to say bamboo and metal ones are also available. You know, Sky put a lot of effort into, you know, an anti-plastics movement because it's so damaging for the oceans. But anyway.
Small things that annoys a lot of people, right?
What? Yeah, no, paper straws are rubbish, but you can still get...
Oceans.
No,
that annoys
means
paper straws. Yeah.
Paper straws. Anyway.
I can imagine him sipping his Diet Coke, just getting very angry about it.
Yeah.
If I ever win power again, I'm going to
get these things.
And he has the power to do it with the flick of a pen. That's the remarkable thing about executive power in the United States, is it is literally presidential decree. If you have to change, well, so what their equivalent of primary legislation is, you can do a lot of things by unpicking what governments before you have done. Right, on steel, though, yes. This could be really bad. Obviously, our steel industry is on its knees.
Oh, here we go. Sorry, I'm stopping you again. I do apologise.
We always come here for Trump.
Yeah, no, I'm so sorry. Right, here we go. So aluminium tariffs it's flicking so fast I can't click on it, actually, to be fair. Oh, my goodness me, what else is he saying? They raised from 10% to 25%. That's according to a White House official, reinstating 25% also on steel tariffs. So there you go, there is the moment. Do continue.
Well, we actually had an exemption, weirdly, on steel, which was negotiated through successive ends of the Tory government, starting with Liz Truss through to Rishi Sunak, actually. The UK was exempt from these tariffs because I think there is some sort of deal that we've done, which is a very specific type of steel that we produce the US defence market really needs. So there is still hope in Whitehall that we might be able to sidestep this. That's clearly diminishing tonight, or whether some sort of carve-out could come separately. We don't know the details, but as the Times are reporting, and as Pippa's been reporting for a week or two now, and I'll let her take over in a second, she's got the details, we're not going to get into a tit-for-tat trade war, which the EU have been threatening. And Peter Mandelson, in his first day as US ambassador today, obviously a former EU trade commissioner, has a big job on his hands.
Yes, the Trump's trade advisor Navarro says tariffs are about ensuring the US never has to rely on foreign nationals, or nations rather, for critical industries like steel and aluminium. Trump's actions will end foreign dumping, boost domestic production and secure steel and aluminium industries as the backbone of US security, which is the argument that many have had in the UK about why we need a steel industry, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Well, no, just that it's been seen as you know, tied in with national security, and the government has invested a huge, or successive governments have invested a huge amount of energy and money, taxpayers' money, to keep the sector alive, not least because you know, tens of thousands of people are employed and it generates hundreds of millions, if not billions of pounds every year, but it's seen as being a really important sector. This particular story in the Times is about retaliating with tariffs, that if Donald Trump decides that actually this isn't just a negotiating tactic, which it may have been seen to be with Canada and Mexico at least, you know, threaten the worst and see what they come back with. But if it ends up being, if Britain ends up being caught up in his approach to European tariffs, focused on the EU, obviously, which we're no longer part, then there has been a discussion inside government about whether we should retaliate. And I interviewed David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, last week, who gave me a very strong signal that the UK its cross-party position is that we're an open free market society that doesn't believe in tariffs, crucially, he said, in either direction, which to me was a very clear signal that they don't think that that would be a good idea.
What proportion of our, you know, steel products go to America then? How hard would the industry be hit?
It's about 5% of steel and about 6% of aluminium. Almost said aluminum, which of course is how you want to say it, which is in 2023. But there is a broader point about whether the UK, and actually I was speaking to some senior Tories about this last week, so it's not just the government, has the economic firepower to be able to retaliate to tariffs when you consider that our goods exports to the US account for less than 0.5% of US GDP.
Just reading also, Donald Trump has said on the tariffs, no exceptions or exemptions.
Well, there we go. There's Peter Mandelson's second day in the office trying to unpick that. But Pippa's right, though, is what, you know, really with our steel industry, you know, as totemic as it is, you know, all countries need for energy, national security, the ability to produce warships and submarines themselves, and we are basically importing most of our steel as it is. Really, what difference would we make if we did slap on retaliatory tariffs? But it feels to me it's going to be another part of that sort of careful path that Starmer, to some degree successfully so far, has started to walk of, you know, because we have Brexit, because we're no longer in the EU, we don't automatically have to sign up to everything that they agree on. Is there a different way that we can go through, including actually keeping our sort of our ear to China open as well?
And it's worth just quickly saying as well that, of course, Trump imposed steel tariffs on the UK in 2018 as part of the European Union. And when we left the European Union, we continued with those. And it was only until Joe Biden came in that those were lifted.
2022.
OK. Yeah. And just I haven't got the story up, but the Daily Telegraph reporting that Starmer will visit Trump this month for a tariff summit.
Well,
so is this in order to
tariff summit? I think
our case? Is that the point?
Look, he's been itching. He's been sitting by the big red phone, waiting for the invite for weeks now. Theresa May, don't forget, managed to make it out within 7 days of Donald Trump being elected. In 2017, when he took to the White House. Boris Johnson, I think, was the first visit to the Biden White House, or certainly the first European visit from memory. It was very early. Lots of warm words between Starmer and Trump, but so far, no invite.
And we were told by Starmer that he wanted to, or by Downing Street, that he wanted to get out there within a month of the inauguration, which basically gives him 10 days yet. There's no trip planned yet. It could happen very last minute.
But it is Parliament.
Does it seem a bit desperate?
Oh, it's always needy. It's the special relationship, of course. You know, everyone says, oh, the special relationship's great. We don't need it. But we're always there on tenterhooks. It was the first European phone call Starmer had. There was that weird thing on the plane the other day where Donald Trump started sort of saying, lovely, how wonderful and nice.
He's a winner, though, isn't he? He's won a big majority,
Starmer is, and
appeals to him.
The leaks we've got from the telephone calls sound like they have been warm on a personal level, but you know, they are itching for the. What we might note is recess, Commons recess next week.
So
but it's not up to the UK, though, is it?
Of course
it's
not.
up to Trump, so it might help.
It's a window between his proclamations and his executive
week of the
orders.
24th, which Pippa and I are both down to do the Monday night at the paper review for.
If we're not
We might not be here.
We might have to do it from Washington, as we once did.
And in the meantime, tell us about your paper.
So at the same time as this great sort of tightrope that Starmer is trying to walk with the United States and the EU, obviously this government has been notably more pro-China, and we're revealing tomorrow tomorrow that they're about to get the green light for a massive North Sea development, wind farm development. Crucially, it's a Norwegian-Japanese project, but the wind turbines will be manufactured in China. Now, DESNZ, run by Ed Miliband, not your normal sort of hawkish type, has warned that, yes, there is a small threat that China will be able to turn off these turbines should they be able to do that. There's a small threat of that, but crucially, the MOD have sounded the alarm on this, and they have said there's a real threat of eavesdropping because you put 300 turbines in the North Sea, you have no idea what's in them, no idea who's coming to maintain them, and despite that, we're hearing tonight that Rachel Reeves is about any day now going to rule that this investment's going to go ahead, despite these security concerns, putting her on another collision course with Donald Trump. Because don't forget, when Huawei were trying to build our telephone infrastructure, it was the Trump White House that literally made Boris Johnson completely U-turn on that and strip out all that Chinese infrastructure from our systems.
And if that wasn't enough, Wang Yi, the Chinese foreign minister, is coming to Britain on Thursday to meet David Lammy and potentially other cabinet ministers.
I wonder whether a little signing
well.
might be on the cards.
But then it's not all smooth sailing with them either, because tomorrow the Planning Inspectorate is going to be looking at the decision over the Chinese attempt to build a big new super embassy in East London. So there's a crucial decision there too. So big week for China-UK relations.
I wonder whether the embassy goes ahead and miraculously the massive Chinese investment in the North Sea goes ahead. And
yes, or hello, Wang Yi, goodbye, Trump-Starmer visit.
But there's anyway, a lot of very, loath to use the term the deep state, but a lot of deep state people are very, very concerned about this project and have been trying to raise the alarm privately and miraculously are now raising the alarm.
God, it's all gone a bit interesting, hasn't it, don't you think? Let's talk about WhatsApp messages, shall we? And Labour, or when Labour knew. This is a story in The Guardian, Pippa.
Yeah, so this is the story around the WhatsApp group, which over the weekend was revealed that Andrew Gwynn, the health minister, had made some really, crossing the line, vile messages in, which also led to the departure today, or the suspension today, of Oliver Ryan, who used to work for him as a councillor, is the Burnley MP. So it's the second Labour MP to be suspended. And we have, my colleagues at The Guardian, Josh Halliday, our Northern editor, has reported that Labour was warned more than a year ago about the existence of this WhatsApp group involving MPs, local councillors, and a series of offensive messages. And he's also got some details of the 500,000 messages which were sent, which the Labour Party has been trawling through, amazed, frankly, that they've been able to come to a decision so quickly about Gwynn and Ryan, in which there's other examples. Gwynn described a constituent as and forgive me for saying this, these are his words, an illiterate retard, and a fellow councillor as a fat, middle-aged, useless thicket. He suggested that a senior Labour official, a year after the death of Prince Philip, was so old, so her go-to phrase was, "You're so old, you're like a young Prince Philip," and Gwynn then replied, "but less dead." So, more examples there.
Yeah.
The Labour Party knew about it for some time, so it will raise questions. Obviously, they knew about it a year ago about why they didn't act sooner.
OK, and very quickly, you found out more stuff about the replacement to Mr
yes.
Gwynn.
Well, they've got rid of one minister who's obviously got some very interesting views, and so the new minister, Ashley Dalton, she was a semi-new MP. She was actually an MP at a by-election before, has been around a little while, had tweeted in 2016 that it's OK to identify as a llama, which I think will surprise most people. She, we get it. I'm not going to read out the exact quotes as Pippa did, but she's got some very free views on self-identification, trans issues, gender-neutral bathrooms, the male and female and trans anatomy, and well, as we say, Labour has stumbled into a fresh wokery row, which I think
comments
basically...
a decade ago.
Yeah, but yet to hear the new public health minister, the woman now in charge of the nation's public health, who thinks that you can be a llama.
Coming up next. High Court judges will no longer need to sign off on the assisted dying bill. That's The Guardian. Back with that in just a moment.
We're going to do this 100 times every day for the next 3 months.
Why have we agreed to this?
Raises many questions about many things.
Actually seeing people impacted, she was so upset.
It was powerful. They kind of couldn't believe they were being berated here.
Very much on my terms, I think was the subtext. News happens fast around Donald Trump.
It was a kind of wow moment.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, doesn't it?
It's Trump world, and we just live in it.
So, where next?
Follow Trump 100 wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm David Blevins, and I'm Sky's senior Ireland correspondent.
It takes 60 minutes to cross the Irish Sea. It took the British monarchy a century.
I've spent 30 years reporting the journey from conflict to peace.
The political parties of Northern Ireland have reached agreement.
If there's anyone who might know how to fix Northern Ireland's devolved government, it's the American architect.
Changes in circumstance require changes in approach.
The end of the political stalemate, the start of a new chapter for Northern Ireland.
I confirm that I am willing to take up the office of First Minister. My election to the post of First Minister demonstrates the change that's happening on this island.
Catholics and Protestants on different sides, now facing the same threat.
If we both contract COVID-19 and end up in hospital, religion's nothing.
People here are adept at finding hope amid adversity. That's the spirit of a place that punches way above its weight.
We help you understand the world with us. A toxic blue-green algae now poisoning Lough Neagh. It's breaking your heart what has happened here.
It is.
This is a vital resource, a national treasure, now fighting for its very life. They are effectively surrounded by Northern Ireland, and that makes this the most unlikely of international frontiers.
If there's a hard border, I think it'll cripple the country.
Winter is coming. Welcome to Winterfell. It's an iconic location in this globally acclaimed drama. Ophelia was the most powerful hurricane this far east in the Atlantic on record.
Sky News, the full story first.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story.
I'm ready. Are you?
Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
Weeknights on Sky News.
This is your chance. Tell people. Welcome to the Politics Hub.
Our police force has apologised. If you want to find out about Grimsby, you come to the docks.
I'm live in Jerusalem. Are you not concerned that that could lead to all-out war? Hello there, good evening. There are fears of an upsurge in violence. What's at stake here?
You are watching the press preview, a first look at the front pages as they arrive.
Well, you are watching the press preview. Welcome back to you. Welcome back to Harry Cole and Pippa Crerar. Lots more lines from Donald Trump, so you're looking at them too. First of all, Trump is also looking at tariffs on cars, chips, microchips, and the pharmaceutical industry. He will also do reciprocal tariffs over the next 2 days. So any nation that has tariffs on American goods, then they will have reciprocal tariffs. Also on Gaza, he has said if all the Gaza hostages aren't returned by Saturday at 12 p.m, I would say cancel the ceasefire. But then he goes on to say, let all hell break loose. And then he can carry on to say Israel can override it. Trump says he thinks Jordan will take refugees. This is the idea that the Palestinians should not be in Gaza. Anyway, he's now beginning to tackle this. First of all, they wouldn't let cameras in. Now they've let the pool camera in, and he likes to talk. But you know, that is the deadline thrown back at Hamas, certainly, Pippa, in terms of getting the hostages out after Hamas said it was pausing the hostage release because Israel had violated the ceasefire.
Yeah, and it seems to be, unfortunately, and perhaps predictably, very, very fragile. Everybody had questioned whether the ceasefire would continue. It requires so much on both sides. And as you say, the fact that, that this has happened, it does look like we're in a position that many people were predicting. Mediators had feared the breakdown of this ceasefire for some time, and as you say, talks have been postponed until we hear a clear indication from Washington what their intent is.
Yeah, I think you saw the emaciated and tortured faces as the 3 hostages were released on Saturday, and well, if these are only three weeks down the list of people that are being released, if they're in that state, what are the actual state of the hostages?
Well, people have pointed
further
out
down the
that
line?
the people of Gaza have struggled for food and many are hungry.
Yeah, I don't
and
see
that
very
Palestinian
hungry-looking Hamas
prisoners-
officers driving around in their Range Rovers.
Lots of civilians who are really in a terrible state.
Yeah, well, I mean that's not the fault of Israel. That's the fault of the hostages. The Hamas people who are seizing the trucks as they're coming across.
Well, actually, I think there are people that have blocked on the Israeli side some of the aid trucks going into Gaza, and so if you want to attribute blame, I think the people that are innocents in this are the civilians.
I agree with you on that, but there's also the other innocents in this are the hostages that are now still related. We don't even know they're still alive, and I think that's the thing. There's a big suspicion. There's a big backlash in Israel at the state of the hostages that were released on Saturday. If those are, as I was saying, if those are the ones that are very high up the list to be released, do we really know what state the ones that are still yet to be released in? And is this a bit of game playing by Hamas? Because actually they're about to have to admit that a number of hostages may no longer be alive, and the ones that are alive are in a very, very poor state. And I think that's the real concern. And that's why I think once again you're seeing the White House play hardball in the way that they did just shortly before President Trump was sworn in, when he basically got the ceasefire into position by saying, if you don't do it by the time I'm in the White House, then, again, all these...
The squeeze is on again.
The squeeze is on again,
point, yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
We need to get to the weather. Thank you for now. Luckily, you're back a little bit later. Thank you very much indeed. Just very quickly then, on the weather, will feel chilly this week, limited sunshine, cold easterly wind, a cold, rather murky start tomorrow then, any frost largely restricted to the brighter parts of the northwest. Expect a scattering of wintry showers, mainly in the east. The morning looks mostly grey again. Showers over eastern parts of both Britain and Ireland becoming increasingly isolated. The west of Ireland and far northwest of Scotland look like having the best chance of some sunny breaks. Press Preview continues after this.